I hate to break the fishing news up, Chuck, but I'd like to speak about the ice hockey.
Congratulations, you're one of the 13 listeners of the Real Life Podcast.
We just traded a migraine in for like an orgasm.
Might want to mark that down,
Yep.
All of my projects are on schedule until they're not.
A member of the Nation Network of Podcasts.
About as funny as we're going to get today.
Welcome into episode 188 of the Real Life Podcast. I'm Tyler Yaremchuk, joined by Chalmers, who's in his truck, Bagged Milk, who's at his home, and Jay, who's at Nation HQ. We're also going to be joined in a few minutes by special guest Jordan Buhat, Edmonton product, Oilers fan, actor on the TV show Grownish, which I'm going to try my hardest not to butcher, but that's a word I'm having trouble saying out loud today. Guys, how's it going? Did everyone watch a ton of golf on the weekend?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Yeah, sorry, JR.
I had some great naps this weekend because I watched some golf.
So I had seen your guys' thing about best sports to nap at, and one of the things I was the most excited for was that 2 o'clock to around 3 o'clock, Sunday nap while you're watching golf, and then waking up just for the leaders to come down the stretch on 15, 16, 17, 18. It was amazing. It was great.
Yeah, it was
Saturday. On Saturday, I literally planned a nap around being able to watch golf. I just threw it on. The announcers, it's that like low cadence voice where it's super soft, and then just the swings, just everything about golf on TV is just perfect for napping. And I was out.
One thing I wanted to touch on before we get into it is my betting on the weekend. I talked about my hole-in-one bet and how excited I was for that. While I was editing the podcast, after we talked about it on Thursday, I had it up on the screen. And as soon as they were like, let's go, I think it was the 13th hole, was that par 3? And they go, let's go to the 13th here. And I was like, son of a bitch, someone did it. There's no reason they'd be cutting back to this hole right now. And sure as shit, someone did it. Only won this weekend too. And it ruined my bet. I also had Xander Schauffele to win the tournament. And he had the 360 rim on 17. And he didn't make the playoff. But it was a heartbreaking weekend of betting for me. But I loved it.
You're back in the game, though. Doesn't matter.
I loved the bet, for one thing.
I thought it was easy money.
What were the odds you had on that?
For no hole-in-one, it was plus 109.
Oh, wow.
Right? Like, that's such a teasing bet.
Chalmers, you missed it, though, Chalmers, because like on the show on Thursday, Jay and I and Tyler were all, this is easy money, buddy. This is easy money. These guys haven't golfed in months. No problem.
It should have been, but with it coming back, like I was excited to see how the guys were going to be seasoned, like whether or not, and to see like Jordan Spieth come out to like an early lead after, or like to lead the tournament for quite a while and play great golf after pretty much having a terrible year last year. I was excited to see who was going to step up, and it was also exciting to see just what it was going to be like. The commentary, basically the people not having fans there, whether that was going to like add or take away from the emotions of, one thing they talked about too on the broadcast when they were talking to Scheifele after he had missed the lip out to basically take himself out of the playoff was you didn't know what was happening on the golf course around you because the only way, like they hear the crowds going crazy on the other holes, and to not have that, the only way you could see how other people in the field was if you came to a hole that had a big board telling you the scores. And I thought that was really interesting because, that just, it took out so much emotion for them, Just, I can imagine being on a hole and 2 holes behind me, I hear just a huge roar and wanting to know, like, okay, well, what happened? What is that? And having that kind of take your mind off of where you are and what you're doing, you know what I mean? And for them to not have to listen to that, I think that probably had to have, helped them. So, that was fun for me. I liked that. And I thought without crowds, like that was the easiest sport to watch and feel like just everything was pretty normal.
Yeah. I didn't notice the lack of fans until the end when it was one and it was silent. That was the only time it really kind of stuck out to me as like, okay, there's no fans here. So it's super easy to watch and kind of feel like it's the real thing.
Great also was the return of the Fade Yaremchuk hashtag after he lost his bet.
We needed that.
Also my favorite.
When when I was watching the last couple holes, so I'm watching and they've got great camera angles on the putters, and I have to admit that there was a little bit of a tell. So after Xander Schauffele had basically bombed a few long putts to get him into the playoff, and now he's 15 under, just like Mariyama.
Morikawa.
Sorry, Morikawa and Berger both in it with 15 under. All he's got to do is par that 17th and par 18th, and he's in. And when he's putting that long putt for birdie, his putter, it's not as steady as you would think. They got a close up of just his putter, and you can see that he has sort of like a little yip and it's kind of shaking a little bit. And he putts the ball and he puts it 3.5 feet by. And I'm like, oh, that's nerves. Nerves just got to him. He was trying to win this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's standing up at the other one, and they close up on his putter again, and his putter's not steady. And you can see it. And I'm going, he's gonna fucking miss this. He's not steady. He's lacking confidence right now. And sure as shit, he fucking 360 rims it out. And I was just like, oh my God. I felt it coming. I don't know if anybody else witnessed that the same way I did.
Well, it had to be kind of like it's been so long that there was the nerves, there was just the rust, there's a combination of all of it, just the weirdness of getting back on the links, having it mean something again. Had to be combination of all of that.
Guys.
So then they step on. Oh, sorry. We don't want to get him in here.
Yeah, no. We'll get to Jordan. You finish up your thought. Then I'll call Jordan.
So then we get to the playoff hole. We got Daniel Berger, won tournaments before. We got Colin Morikawa, who's kind of in this position for the first time, and he pushes his first shot, and you're like, oh my God, the nerves are going to get to this kid. And in the for his putt for the par on the first playoff hole, they close in on his putter again, and I'm not going to lie, it wasn't sturdy. I went, Berger's got this thing. He's going to win this thing. And he misses it. And he lips out. He had to have two lip outs to win the tournament. It was so fucking great to have it back. I can't say it any other way.
I hate breaking up the golf convo, but we do have an interview to get to today. Jordan Buhat, he's an Edmonton product. He is an actor on the TV show Grownish. He's done some other stuff as well. We were reading through the old IMDb earlier today. Jordan Buhat joining us on the pod now. Jordan, man, we're excited to have you on. You're rocking the Keep Nuge Forever shirt as well, a diehard Oilers fan, an actor as well. We're going to get into all of that stuff. We want to hear, we talk to hockey players a lot, but we want to hear about the come up of what an actor from Edmonton has to do as Jay takes off his sweater while I intro our guest. But Jordan, how's life been during the... At
least he's not eating this time,
Yeah, at least Jay isn't eating for once. But Jordan, how's life been for you during the pandemic? What have you kind of been up to over the last couple of months?
Oh, man, it has been a lot of just trying to figure out exactly what the heck I'm doing. I took a couple acting classes while I was stuck inside, and just to be able to be fresh, and I'm glad I did, because it looks like we're going to be able to go back to work in the next month. And you never want to be rusty. Got to work on those muscles. And lots of gaming, a lot of chill going on. I came in pretty rusty from working and traveling, and now I can say I'm pretty happy with where my game's at. And that's pretty much it. We've been trying to figure out how we can work out from home and the not having a gym kind of way. And that's been one of our bigger struggles, because we do so many things that requires barbells and plates and all that kind of stuff. And to go from Olympic lifting stuff to no Olympic lifting for the last 3 months, it's been we've been trying to figure it out.
Also, I believe you got married in February, right?
Absolutely, we did. It was very exciting in Australia, and my wife's homeland. Thank you.
Yeah, well timed.
Super well timed.
How's the married life been treating you?
Fantastic, especially during a quarantine. Are you kidding me? To be quarantined but not be alone and have your best friend at the same time, it's been a blessing.
Well, also a strong test too, right? You really get a test to see how things go when you're in lockdown with somebody.
Had you guys lived together before?
No, actually. Well, we hadn't necessarily lived together, in our house, that is where we're living now. But we had spent months on and off living at each other's places until we got married, because we were so far away from each other that we had to. I would spend a month over where she lived and a month she would come over and stay here. So we hadn't lived together before, and so it's definitely been a good test.
So it's like after 3 months of marriage, you guys are going on your 5-year anniversary here pretty soon.
No, for real. It's like, you
learn a lot about each other in the first 4 months.
Absolutely. You have to kind of jump in, and there's no room to it's actually a great tool for when there's conflict. You can't necessarily run away from each other. You spend a couple of days, apart from each other, and we just kind of look, I'm going to see you tomorrow morning. So let's go with this. Let's resolve this, and we'll move on.
And I bet after a little fight or something, you probably I've been following you on Instagram lately when they told me that you were going to have you on there. I see a lot of working out videos, a lot of lifted. And so that could be a stress release for you, and to not have that. I mean, what do you do?
We do a lot of body weight stuff, I guess. And luckily, we have a coach as well who we were working with before quarantine. So one of the coolest things that we've done is we just don't have to do all of the programming. So they come up with something, and we all jump on a Zoom call, and we're able to just let them lead it, which is really good.
I want to get into the acting side of things because that honestly fascinates me. We've talked to a few hockey players on our podcast, a few NHLers, and when you hear hockey player from Edmonton, you kind of just go yeah, that's a little expected. When you hear actor from Edmonton, you kind of go damn, this guy must be pretty good at what he does to come from Edmonton and be now living in LA as an actor on a big show. So when we do talk to the hockey players, we like to start from square one, their minor hockey days. So I guess my question for you is, what would the minor hockey equivalent of a kid from Edmonton that's into acting be?
I guess minor hockey for me would be equivalent to high school acting. There's the drama class, and I didn't really take it seriously then. It was honestly it was fun to do in school. And it was one year during school where someone said, "Hey, do you want to come build sets?" And I was like, that seems a little bit more involved in the community that I'm not really a part of. And it was either build sets or go play football. That was it was going to be my grade 11 year playing football. And it was one of the two. And I thought, you know what, I'll take a chance. I played football for a year. I like to mix it up. So I did the set building. And from there, I was pretty hooked, and it was a lot of fun. I didn't think it was going to be a career. So I went into U of A. Actually, I wanted to be a teacher, gym teacher first and drama teacher second, but I think that would have been a pretty cool guy to have in the school. Yeah. And then from there, I just kind of noticed I started taking the drama classes more than the actual education class. And I thought, this is kind of a sign. And then it took me 4 years to actually make it into the acting program at the U of A because they only take 12 a year. And I think it's something out of 200 people. So it's not like, Yale or Juilliard where it's thousands of people applying. But, it took 4 years to get in because there's quite a bit of theater acting talent in Edmonton, especially, Fringe, Citadel, and all that kind of stuff. It's quite bustling, actually. And so from there, I noticed the kind of acting I didn't necessarily want to do, which Edmonton thrives on, which is you think of experimental. They want to be edgy. Edmonton's got this arts kind of center where they want to push the boundaries of what's normal. And if you see Fringe, that's basically what's there. And I thought, man, I want to do TV. It felt basic, and it felt different than all of my other Edmonton actor friends. And I was I heard a commercial. I don't know if you guys remember those commercials on the radio where it's hey, does your kid want to be a Disney star? I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
You go to the mall, right?
That was me. I went and did that. At 22 years old. They took me still. And it's I called them and I actually said, hey, do you guys take over 18-year-olds? And I'm 22, and they're yeah, come down. So, it took me to Florida to audition. I found my manager there. After I finished the acting program in 2017, they're yeah, you need to leave Edmonton because there's no TV there.
So what was what was your first kind of gig you landed?
So you guys... Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, first, it's okay. It's gonna be on top of that. But Jordan, tell everybody first what the movie was that when you were in high school, the fitting movie that you saw that got you the bug into singing and into movies.
Oh man, what a pull up! Because I know you know the answer. So
I do. It's amazing.
I watched High School Musical, And I was like, I before I went into it, I was like, nah, man, I don't want to watch this movie. It's just I'm not into that stuff at all. And so many of my friends had watched it that I was like, I felt like I was missing out. I had a bit of FOMO. So I was like, I went home alone and downloaded it onto my laptop to just know references. And I ended up watching it and loving it and living the High School Musical story of like, but I'm a sports guy. I can't.
Yeah, you're like Justin. You're like Justin, you're the sports guy who can sing and dance.
I'm from Edmonton. I should be like digging in the dirt with friggin' football in the friggin' snow. But yeah, so that's kind of what got me going.
Hey man, if Efron can do it, there's no reason you couldn't.
If Efron can do it, absolutely.
Title
I like
of,
that.
Title of the podcast idea. He's Edmonton's Efron.
Yeah.
Edmonton's Efron. That can be my own podcast that I can start.
So then, back to Bag Milk's question. Like, what was the first kind of gig you got out of school? I guess.
So it was really crazy. Grownish is my first actual gig. It's my first. Yeah.
No kidding.
It was a whole whirlwind. I went to Vancouver.
Jeez, take your time.
I know.
So we can't go back in the archives and pull up like a sweet Tim Hortons commercial or something.
You know what you could find though? So I did technically have credits before Grownish, but they weren't really like long-lasting things, and it was a whirlwind. So I got Grownish, but the thing is I technically auditioned without having any union credits. So I needed to get into the union to be able to be on Grownish. And so what happened was all these amazing companies and movies were able to come together and offer me like one-line parts in their movies. So like Summer 84, they gave me a small part, which I ended up getting cut out of, but that's fine. But probably the one that everyone in Canada will know, I will be in one line of Letterkenny, and that was so much fun.
Which episode?
Oh man, so there's so many brawls. It's like hard to name which one it was, but I think it was season 4. There was a big brawl, and I literally come in and I just come in and say, "Hey, my name is," and then like the big guy beside me says, "Shut the fuck up," and that's it. That's all I have.
In a fight scene, and you're probably expecting, okay, this is gonna be a fight scene. Maybe I could take my shirt off, show some of the assets.
Yeah.
And nothing. You get told to shut the fuck up.
Oh my god, they had me in the summertime of Toronto, not even Toronto, Sudbury, and it was so hot behind of a Walmart, and like we were just boiling in layers of flannel and Letterkenny joy.
Oh man,
oh that's awesome,
so good.
So that would probably be my first credit that at least Canadians would recognize.
So for Edmonton kids, though, that don't really understand how to go through it, like you said that when you were in high school, then you started to get it kind of into drama and stuff. Yeah. But there was one program in Edmonton that you got involved in, and it's with the Citadel, right?
It was with the Citadel.
And is that one of the things that like kids that were listening to you and like listening to your story of how to kind of go from Edmonton to there? Was this like a major step when you were still in Edmonton before you got into U of A?
That's actually a really good question because I actually have not brought that up in most like the journey kind of interviews, though it actually really was. So I went to the U of A to do the drama and phys ed thing, and I almost got a dean's notice because I had a 2.1 in all my first year. Oh man, it was rough. I took a year off and I thought, maybe I'll just do the thing that I like for fun. And the Citadel Young Companies program was there. So I could do that for the year while I, didn't go to school for my second year. And that actually really was the first time I was entirely engulfed in acting and nothing else. And it was a really good program in that sense where you just work all week on the one thing that you want to do. And that's what really actually prepared me to be able to audition for the U of A acting program over and over and over again. And yeah.
Was that kind of maybe the moment then where you started to think like, hey, maybe I can do this acting thing as a career? Like, was there one moment where that clicked in your mind? You were like, hey, there's a chance for me to do this and like make a living doing this.
There was a moment, and it was actually while I was already in the acting program at the U of A. even though I was in the program and a couple of years in, I didn't think that it was going to be a career. I mean, I didn't know where it was going to go. I was just having fun, and I thought, you know what? I wanted to do the thing before I taught it. So I was mid program, and I just realized what I didn't want to do, which was the really cool, edgy Edmonton theater. And because that's what we were being taught a lot of classical and performance theater in that program. And that's when I realized what I wanted to do, which is to do the TV stuff as a career. That's kind of when I realized. Also, when I was a kid, though I didn't want to act when I was a kid, I always thought it would be cool to like see my name on the opening credits. Yeah, that's really what really pushed me when I was a kid.
When you were talking about getting into or thinking about getting into TV, and that's what you wanted to do, was there kind of like a show that you grew up watching or something that you were into that you're kind of like, that's what I want to do?
Smallville.
Oh,
Smallville for sure. It just it also kind of reminded me of, you know, Midwesty Canada as well, right? You know, the Clark Kent, the flannel, and the schools. But it also had like sci-fi and fantasy and superheroes and action, and that's just like not what I would be learning in school, but that's always what I like really gravitated towards.
Well, it's hilarious actually that you mentioned Smallville, because another Edmonton actor, Eric Johnson, was on that show.
Yeah, so cool. Wait, Eric Johnson. Okay, wait, which one was Eric Johnson?
I'm going to pull up his IMDb, but yeah, Eric Johnson, that was one of his first things. And like, it's hilarious that you brought that up, because I interviewed him a little while ago and he was talking about getting a gig on Smallville. But for him, the reason I asked you if you had like a commercial or something that you first did was because he had like a hilarious Nerf gun one that he did when he was like 10 years old. And that was his jump into the whole thing.
I mean, I would say my Edmontonian claim to fame was when I was in first grade, and I got interviewed because I had the best painting for ATB Bank. And I got put on their calendar on the front cover, and I got interviewed on, I think they took my picture.
Oh, man, you were set for greatness from that moment forward,
absolutely.
Yeah, you're an artist with some range.
I know.
To answer your question, Eric Johnson played Whitney Fordman on Smallville.
Yes, he did. I just realized, I looked it up too, and he definitely was heavy in like the first 2 seasons, I think.
Yeah. Cool. That's such a cool, like, unexpected little angle. 2 Edmonton boys kind of bonding unexpectedly over the same show. Yeah, we just kind of gravitate. That's how it works. Hilarious.
I wanted to talk a little bit more about Edmonton specifically, and obviously now you're down in LA. You spent some time in Australia as well, right?
Well, I spent time in Australia because that's where I found my wife.
Oh, yeah.
Got to do it.
Yeah, I met her on Instagram, and then I just went out there like every other month to be able to stay with her for a little bit, just to, you know, get to know each other. And so I definitely spent probably about accumulation of half a year in Australia.
Okay, wait. So you are a DM slider, and this is how you found your wife?
Absolutely.
That is awesome. Okay, so... Okay, I'm sorry. We're going to derail for a second.
As
you
you
saw
do.
somebody on Instagram, and I like to do that, Jordan. I'm sorry.
Oh, I know.
You saw a girl on Instagram, and you were immediately attracted, and so you had to build up some sort of courage to message her? How does this work?
You know, it was the classic, you know, I just, hey, exclamation mark, how are you, smiley face. That's all it was.
Yeah. Like stuff.
You know,
I like it.
You know, I'm not very good at lines, so it's just honestly, hey, what's up? And then we just kind of started talking, and then I had a week break in filming in December. I had 5 days off, and I thought, you know what? I got a friend in Australia now. I'm going to go to Australia and go and meet her. And then from there, it was pretty solid. The meeting part was pretty crucial.
As the single guy on the podcast here, Jordan, this is giving me a lot of hope here, man.
There you go.
Slide into those DMs.
Shoot your shot.
Yeah, I got to shoot the shot.
Okay, so we were derailed. Before that, I was thinking about Edmonton. Yes,
Edmonton.
You mentioned, you know, like the sort of acting culture or scene around Edmonton. What's that like? But overall, as a city, now that you've traveled around a little bit, what about Edmonton makes it sort of special and unique in your opinion? It's something we talked to Sam Gagne about this. a few weeks ago as well. But what's something that sticks out for you that's almost like uniquely Edmonton that maybe you don't find in other places?
My probably favorite stereotype about Edmonton is just the blue collar hard nose of the city. It's just you work and you get it done, and there's nothing else about it. And that's like some of my favorite hockey players. I think that's why Edmontonians love those kinds of hockey players, you know, the Stoleys, the Horkoffs, and all that kind of stuff, because it represents what our city's like, right? And so that's one part that I really love. And then the summers are full of festivals and just heritage and celebration. And that's so, man, I'm just so upset that we couldn't come back for like Heritage Days and whatever they're calling capital X this year, you know, and all the other stuff.
So, Jordan, a question, like right now, Edmonton's in the mix to be a hub city for the NHL. And there are a bunch of people out there that probably have never been to the city that kind of take shots at Edmonton for maybe, you know, one reason or another. You're in LA, you've been all over the place. What would you say to people that don't necessarily understand how great this city is if they haven't been here?
Let's see. People talk about like the cultures in different cities, and when you're in Edmonton, it's you feel the pride of Edmonton. That's really what I feel is if you're from Edmonton, you know what it's like to get, and you own the winters and you own the couple weeks of hotness in the summer. If you're gonna go visit, then it's go look at the art around, you know, go try and see a show and see what the culture is. Look at even all the art that's around. You know, we really tried to to build a culture around the blue collar city, and there's just a lot of pride from Edmonton.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think
you find it tough to be an Oilers fan. Do you find it tough to be an Oilers fan behind enemy lines per se? Like you're down in LA, Kings are there. Do you get to still keep up with everything?
Never. I am Oilers fan just down to the bone. Like I went to a Kings game versus an Oilers game. We lost. But even when I go to the Kings games, and it's so confusing for me. I went to a Kings game versus Vancouver, and I was like, heck no, I'm not cheering for the Kings. I'm cheering for the closest thing that brings me to Edmonton, which is like Vancouver, which I wouldn't do if I was at home. 100%. It's still Oilers. I mean, we've been through, especially like my Oilers has just been through the absolute mud. So I'm just holding on to that hope that one day it comes through. I'm not going to let go.
Hope, like Hall, Omark, PRV, and Eberle, right? The old abbreviation.
Gosh, absolutely hope.
We were before you were talking to our sales guy Jared, and you mentioned your list of favorite Oilers of all time. Nugent Hopkins is up there. You got the shirt, but who else was on the top of that list for you?
Oh, that's Hemsky. Hemsky is my favorite Oiler of all time. Yeah, I think it was on the Nation podcast that you guys were talking and saying how in a time when it was a gritty Oilers and it was tough. He made the Oilers like even more exciting. And I believe that, man, whenever Hemsky got onto the ice, I was like, oh man, something could happen. You never know. He's probably not going to shoot, but I'm going to see all the opportunities where he could. And he made it really, really exciting. It was preparing for today. I wanted to make sure I had a solid reason for picking Hemsky, and I did a 100 player tourney on my computer to make sure I was really solid about it, and it was really close, but he's 100% my favorite Oiler of all time.
I think the only person who did more prep for this podcast than you is actually Chalmers.
Yeah, Chalmers is bringing the heat.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, it's so funny that you say with the Hemsky, because at that time for the Oilers, it was so correct that all the players were gritty, they were hardworking, and there wasn't much beauty out there. But every time he had the puck, he had the potential to do something beautiful. And it was like that little flower on the team, you know. We had been through such heartache. And then all of a sudden, Hemsky comes out and he's doing, moves that we just hadn't seen for a while, out of a really skilled player like Doug Waite, Comrie at that time. Those guys were the last ones to be really finesse players. Yeah. And so it's really not a surprise that a guy like Hemsky stuck out for a guy like you, who, had to live through, you're much younger, so you had to live through kind of crap right away.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And even when he left in like that first summer, the first couple months he was in Ottawa and he scored that beauty of a dangler on Tampa Bay.
Yep.
It was like, yeah, see, he can do things. Like just enjoy when you have him, whatever team has him next. So
we just didn't give him any protection. The thing about Hemsky is he was willing to try and do all those beautiful things at the risk of getting blown up, which that was either going to happen. It was either going to be beautiful or someone was going to destroy him. And that guy he had no one there for him. Like imagine, just with the right winger, like with the right line, kind of what he could have done, and he was already doing great things. But that guy, fuck, like I'll never forget that guy in the 06 Cup run was magical.
Oh yeah, exactly. And that was like his first. I think that might have been
young.
Yeah, he was young, and he had his first big plus 70 year out of like I think it was 2. Right around the same time, and I was like, man, this guy could be like something for us if we put him on like a second line and he just has the right players to play with. But
did you go? You said Jared Stoll was one of your favorite players too, right?
Yeah, Stoley was. I think I wish we could have held on to him for that third place center spot for as long as we could have.
Yeah. When I think of those two, the only thing I think about is when Patrick Stefan missed the open net, and then the 3-pass play from somebody to Stoll to Hemsky, and then like that was beautiful. So Stoley lives in LA nowadays. That's where he calls home. Like there's Oilers that like to move to LA obviously after their playing days, and they get into other things. Is that a guy you've ever run into around there? Have you ever had the opportunity to like see him out and about?
I wish, man. It's like if I saw him out here, I would probably do the fan thing over like anyone. Like if I just saw an Oiler walking around, are you kidding?
Yeah, he'd probably be like, "Holy shit, you know me, I know you," and it would be.
Well, I did go to a game actually, and I did see the boys walking over from a restaurant. And I was like, I couldn't be more excited with the person that I was with. I was like, look, those Oilers. Oh, man, look how tall they are. I saw Koskinen for the first time, and it was great.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Just a towering man.
Oh, he's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always forget from when I'm in the stands to when I am ish, level with them, then how big those boys are. When
you lived in Edmonton, did you go to a lot of games?
I couldn't really afford them, but my anytime so my mom a couple of years right before I left started being a season ticket holder, so sometimes I would be able to go. But I think my record of actual Edmonton games is something like 1 in 5.
Oh no!
So yeah, I know. I saw like 2 games of McDavid Magic at Rogers, but then that's it.
What's a kind of a top memory for you then? Whether you're at the game, watching on TV, what are some games that really stick out for you as like highlights of your Oilers fandom?
So my number one memory is 100%. Can you believe what we just saw? Like that, Stefan.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's amazing. I think about it all the time.
Oh, absolutely. Followed up with a Hemsky goal on Belfour too. One of my top 15 goalies of all time. That was my favorite memory. And I was trying to think of this too, or my other favorite memories, and I couldn't. Yakupov had such a rocky kind of road with us, but it's hard to shake that sliding celly. It gave me like chills because I'd never seen that. I'd never seen someone slide from one end to the other after a goal. Like the pure joy he had was like Ovechkin level scoring a goal.
Do you think hockey needs more of that, a little bit of personality? Because I remember after the Yakupov slide, how many people were pissed about it.
Yeah. I mean, you look at the people around the league who are just pissed about Carolina's, after game shenanigans and whatnot. And, it's arguably to what level should you do that kind of stuff? It's kind of silly, but I don't know. It injects like for it to be one of my top memories of all time, like it injects energy and it's fun. And, like that's what you want to do. If I wanted to be a goalie, I'm 5'6", that was never going to happen on the Oilers, at least. That like you when you score a goal or something like that, you make a big save and the other players come tap you on the pads. It's like you want to celebrate that stuff. You want to be able to friggin' celebrate, but you have to ride the line of not gloating.
It's always the code, right? That's always that they throw around.
There's a code. There's an etiquette.
Well, remember Omar's shootout goal?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like that
little spin.
That was fucking unreal. Like I was at the game, and the minute he spun, I was like, I first thought, I'm like, he better fucking score or he's gonna get flamed.
Yep.
And then he did, and I'm like, this was the greatest thing I've ever witnessed.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Oh man, I momentarily forgot about that one.
Yeah, the spinorama at center, starting it backwards. But when I think of the people that didn't like a Yakupov slide, it's like the people that live in Edmonton who don't understand that that's the type of thing that brings fan engagement. When a guy like you goes to LA and you realize that like the people around here, if they could just see more of this. I know there's a ton of stuff to do in LA, but like we could get a little sliver of these of this population if they can just see how much fun it can be to go to the game. Because in person, I have to say that an NHL hockey game is more exciting than a football game, basketball game, right? And so to have that kind of thing happen, I mean, you must see it all the way around, just like bang your head against the wall. Like you guys got to know this is so exciting if you just see this stuff happen.
Well, people fly to the Golden Knights games because of what those games are like, energy and the show that happens, right? Like make it a show. Like if they totally did it right what they did in Vegas.
Have you been to a game in Vegas?
I have not.
Oh, you got to.
Good
you got to come. You got to come join us. We have a nation trip down there.
I know the nation trip. I could just meet you guys over there.
Yeah. Zip up.
We're so close.
We were talking about people, like in LA where hockey isn't as big as it should be. I want to ask you a question about your wife. Did she know a lot about hockey before you guys met or anything like that? Have you sort of introduced her to the sport a little bit?
She knew about hockey.
Yeah.
She actually had a friend who played in just, a small league in Australia, but she didn't know too much. So I brought her to her first Oilers game around Christmas, and she had a blast. Who do we play? I think we played Montreal. Oh,
yeah. We won that one.
Yeah.
That was a big,
Was that McDavid scored a goal in that game too, right? Where he scored a nice one, didn't he? That's quite a way to get introduced to the sport.
Montreal, or was it because there was a Montreal and Pittsburgh game? It was the Pittsburgh game right before the fun win, actually. That's why my record's so bad, is I always go to the one right before we win.
Crosby wins? Crosby wins it in overtime? Is that one?
No. That was the season before.
My bad.
On the flip side, did the missus introduce you to any Australian sports? Are you into the footy now?
Yeah, with your AFL team.
I didn't know anything about footy, and I thought, well, is this rugby? And my ignorant Edmonton.
That's a no-no.
Yeah, I got roasted by her dad for sure, really hard. And I went to a footy game though, and it's really cool.
It's fun.
It's such a huge arena, and a big memory for me is they celebrate their like Aboriginal culture with like an actual ceremony right before the game, and it was like, wow, this is amazing.
I love the way Australians get after it when it comes to sports. You know what I mean? I was down there for a while and watching like 4-day cricket test matches, and it's just an all-day event from morning till night. They do it right down there.
Oh yeah.
I like the way that they get after it just in the bars over anything. I got in a drinking competition with an Australian who for every one Bundaberg and Coke I had to drink, they had to drink a Canadian Club and Coke. And I did not like Bundaberg one bit. And I'm telling you, I won. Don't worry, I won.
Good.
I did as which footy game? Like which arena were you in?
What arena? It was the MCG.
Oh, yeah.
It was a really nice arena.
So this is where Aussies they just get the party of sports. MCG, I was fortunate enough to go to a game there too, and to be able to go and get a beer and take a piss and only have that take like less than 2 minutes is the most amazing. It's such a well-oiled machine. It does not just, you don't miss any footy, and you don't, you can get as many beers whenever you want, and you can take a leak as much as you want. I was just blown away with how efficient it was.
Oh,
got their priorities
size of that thing, especially. They have like twice as many twice as many bathrooms as we do it.
Yeah, they did it right. Yeah, that's where we missed was all the bathrooms.
Jordan,
they should have expected it.
Yeah, 40 minutes it's flown by with you already, but I'm going to go around the horn to everyone one more time. If you guys got any, I have one more for Jordan, but I'll save mine for last because I'm the host and producer, so I can do that kind of stuff. But Chalmers, you got one more?
I just want to know, because, I was introduced to the show Grownish recently. But for the people on this podcast that want to know about the show, give us a nice Cliff Notes version of what you think the show's about, what your character Vivek is all about, and just kind of break it down for us.
Yeah, well, the show, especially, in these times, it's a really important show. It's just a show about a bunch of diverse friends going through college. We can all relate to, we try to watch TV shows and are we able to relate to it or not? And our show just tries to highlight a whole bunch of ethnicities so that we can all see someone on TV that we can relate to. And we have almost anything and everything on our show. My character, Vivek, he is an American Asian who didn't really like his parents' portrayal of being first gen, and he's the second gen American Asian. He tried to separate himself by that from trying to make a lot of money. His dad was a cab driver, and so he said, no, I'm actually going to sell drugs and make a lot of money. It's not the usual route, but I mean, it was, it actually shined a light too. Like I went to university and there was a whole bunch of people who casually did, drugs here and there, and what you can call like safely or not safely, but it was at least a conversation because it does happen. And we're all just going through college and showing our lives.
Good stuff, Jay. Bag milk. I want
to know.
Okay.
I want to know about. We talked a little bit before you came on about what it means for sports to come back, just not as fans, but for all of us, kind of something to rally behind. What does it mean to you to be able to even just kind of take a break from life for a little bit, watch some sports, and connect with people on a different level like that? Like hockey's supposed to come back in August. We're all excited about it. This is a hockey podcast, but as a fan, what does it mean to you to have sports coming back and just a little taste of being normal again?
Something to cheer for. You want to be able to rally behind a crew, believe in them, or even just in a person and believe in them. Like imagine some kind of a shootout goal for some reason or a penalty shot, and you're like, you just want to give someone all of your hope and to cheer them on. That's what I really felt this weekend when I watched the Rogue Invitational, and I hadn't seen any kind of sporting events in the past months that we've been in this, and it just felt good to be able to believe that someone could win, and even the people that didn't win, it's like you still cheer them on. It just brings people together in a way that I don't think anything else does.
So are you still excited for the hockey season to get going, or has the layoff kind of killed the hype a little bit for you? Or like when that puck drops, Oilers-Hawks play-in series, is it appointment viewing for you still?
Appointment viewing. 100%. I'm getting whatever kind of streaming service I can to be able to watch it out here. And I mean, I'm looking at the lineups. I'm like, oh my gosh, is Kyler and Yamo, is he still going to be able to go with Nuge and Dry, and like who's going to be coming up as I think we have like 30 players or something that we can have. I can't remember.
Yeah.
There's going to be a dark horse. There's going to be someone who wasn't in the lineup, and I truly believe someone's going to slip in there and just be a sort of X Factor Pisani kind of person.
Yes. Who is our Fernando Pisani? That's a great.
Who is that going to be? And
what do you think of the matchup against Chicago?
The only thing I'm nervous about really is Kane. Like Kane, he gets on the ice, and same thing with McDavid. It's like you're expecting something to go down. You don't quite know. And if, but I am really happy with the way that our defense has kind of stood up this year. So if we can stop that one line and, and maybe like Draisaitl or Sheahan can just stop up against that one line, I really don't think that they can outpower us on our depth.
The saving grace to Kane is maybe the layoff giving him a lot more time to party a little bit because we know he likes to do that. So
he loves a good party. So maybe he'll still be tired. I don't know.
Maybe he's like Rodman. Maybe he's like Rodman, and partying recharges him.
Yeah,
that's the problem. Maybe
that's superhuman strength. That's his superpower. Now, I would be remiss, Jordan, if I didn't ask this question, and I know Chalmers will rip me for asking it anyways.
I will.
But I have to because you're an Edmonton boy, and there's a big part of Edmonton. Well, not for everyone, but for a lot of us. But do you have a Donair shop in Edmonton?
I don't. Oh, my Donair shop.
Yeah.
Ooh. Okay.
I'm not going to rip you for that one, actually. That's a good question.
I was going to ask famous Edmontonians who live abroad what their shop that they grew up on was.
I have been watching the playoff Donair bracket you guys have going. So
it's intense, man.
Oh, I know it's intense. Like I keep watching. I was like, man, this is like the amount of Donair shops. So I wasn't a Donair guy while I lived in Edmonton, but in Sherwood Park there was I think it was like honestly there's a Donair pizza, and that's probably the closest thing that I was able to get to being a Donair fan.
It doesn't make you any less Edmontonian.
It doesn't
make you any less Edmontonian.
No, there's no pressure.
Buddy.
But
I don't either.
I'm not a big Donair guy either. So it's 3-2 right here on the pod. I know.
Donair, say that again.
Yeah.
Jordan, back to Grownish. What's the schedule looking like for you? When you back to work? When you getting back at it?
You hear a bunch of rumors, it's a whole bunch of rumors until they call you a couple of days before and say, hey, you got to get over here. But what it's looking like is maybe late July, possibly August, and like no visitors. Everyone's got it. I think the union said we're going to be tested like 3 times a week, the regular actors and stuff like that. And so I actually have hope that we're going to be going back in probably a month or so.
Does it since you've been off a little bit, do you have the nerves going? Are you excited? What is that like for you going back?
So the acting class really, really helped. Like it actually kept me warm, and I was getting antsy. I was getting nervous. So I was like, man, I don't know if I go in there and I'm rusty, but I really do believe myself now that I took the acting class. I'm ready to go. I'm excited.
I know that you lived the obviously the first 3 seasons, but do you have to brush up just to remind yourself some of the story, or is it just still super fresh in your mind?
Well, it's cool. Once you, especially after I've been on for 3 years, I pretty much know this character. And of course, I don't know everything because the writers are the ones who might know everything. But I have this really strong idea of who the character is. So once they give me words and I make it make sense in my head, absolutely, I'm pretty ready to go.
I've got one more hockey thing for you. We were talking about you thinking about a depth player who's going to step up to be this year's Fernando Pisani. Who do you think it'll be? Who are you feeling?
Who's going to be that depth player?
I think who he said. Yamo.
Yamo's a top pick.
Yamo's not a depth player, though, I don't think.
Prove it to me first before I call you top 6, Yamo.
Yamo's proving it, man. He's on fire.
Oh, my God. Oh, okay.
Well, there's my sneaky sensation or sneaky sense is that either Athanasio, there's not enough room for Athanasio and Ennis to be in the top 6. So I think that one of them could prove to be that sneaky point here and there. That's like, oh wow, he's actually doing really consistent for us. And I think they have the wheels and Ennis with his eyes. I think one of those guys is probably going to step up after now. Well, especially with Athanasio being healthy again.
Yeah. 100% with Athanasio being healthy. I like both those guys after they came over from the deadline. While Jay was answering the question, those are the two that popped in my head too. I'm like, man, I could see local boy Tyler Ennis having a couple big 2-goal games here and there throughout the playoffs. Oh, fired up.
And I always cheer for the small guy. Any small guy Oiler, that's my I go back and I really had a hard time deciding whether or not I still like Bergeron, but he was just so small and so Torrey Krug-like. It was not in the point sense, but he had potential. So I cheer for the small guy.
I
Jordan
still got beef with him. I'll say it.
Yeah. Jordan, we really appreciate you giving us some time today, man. Good luck with the next season of Grownish here. Hopefully that gets going soon for you. We'll have to keep tabs on you. We'll have to have you back on again soon.
Oh, I would love that, especially somewhere through the playoffs and we're still cruising. Thanks for having me. This was, like I said, one of my favorite interviews that I was getting ready for.
All right. Cheers, man. Have a good one. There you go. That's Jordan Buhat joining us on the Real Life Podcast. Man, like the range on this guy to go from talking about his fancy acting career in LA to just being like, hey, who's going to be the dark horse for the Oilers this year? That was a ton of fun.
I love that he got a chance at Grownish. And like he said, this was kind of his first acting gig, like his first real acting gig. And he went to the auditions and he hit it. He had a chance and he stepped up and he crushed. It's like it's being the pinch hitter and delivering. And that's what he kind of did.
You get a sense from people just kind of like, that like he just seems to have it. He has
Yeah.
Like I'm really interested in seeing the future of what progresses for him and how long a show like Grownish, the run that he has, and then kind of like in year 3, 4, 5, what else is he getting asked to do? Because you can just tell, like the guy's got what it takes, and
he's got a smile that can light up a room.
Oh yeah,
he's got that velvety voice too. He's got some voiceover work coming too. I guess.
And he makes that Keep Nuge Forever shirt look very nice.
Oh yeah. And I mean, this is just completely coincidental, but I also thought it was kind of hilarious that his favorite show growing up also had another Edmonton angle to it.
Yeah, that was really cool.
That's neat, eh? Go Edmonton.
Unbelievable. We're doing it.
That was a good pull because I'm not gonna lie to you, I had no idea what the hell Smallville was. I'd never heard of it.
Don't worry, Chalmers. You're doing all the fantastic pulls of his career, so you were ready to ask some good questions.
You were asking questions you already knew the answer to. It was good stuff. That felt like a professional interview again.
No, thanks.
For a guy who's probably done over 100 interviews, for sure, for him to be like, oh, I've never been asked or I've never answered that question. Mm-hmm. Like, that's good.
But that was the thing is, though, like from the Edmonton angle, I'll bet you there's kids like with TikTok and the way that like the younger generation right now, the way that I see my nieces at 9 and 12 years old, that a lot of people's focus is like singing, dancing. It's way more like just popular with kids these days. And a lot of them probably think, because I'm from Edmonton, I have no shot. And to make him kind of like a face of it, like at right now to say to them, like there is a road out of here. And it's exactly this, even though it can't be exactly this every time, but just to let people know, like my nieces who sing and dance, to know that they could, if they followed a path and they worked really hard. Because the one thing I didn't know about him from just some things that I had looked up and research I had done, he worked really hard. He hustled. He went and he never, there wasn't a door he wasn't trying to get his foot into, and that was, it's hard work. It's not just like somebody's going to see a TikTok video of yours and you're going to become famous because you have, 10,000 followers. And that's what I wanted to like kind of portray to people, because it's important for kids to know that there's something outside of Edmonton. When I was young, I never knew anything like that. Like, Jay, we were pretty good golfers when we were like 15 years old. And if we would have known that there was an avenue where you could even go play like Div 2 or Div 3 and go to a college in the States and play on a golf team, if I would have known that, I maybe would have applied myself a little bit harder at like 14, 15, 16 years old. And that's just what I think a lot of times, like our responsibility as older people to the youth is to let them know that like everything's out there, and not just like, oh, you put your mind to it, you can do anything. It's here's specifically how you can do it.
Like you can look at Jordan Buhat and go, hey, an actor from Edmonton, like even, Eric Johnson you mentioned, right? Like having those tangible kind of like role models to look at and be like, damn, that's how they did it, and that's how I can do it.
Yeah.
And also, you got to give him some credit, too, for having the balls to be like, okay, I got to go down to LA to get this going. I'm going to go do it as well. Because that's, he's taking a leap of faith and he's betting on himself, and it paid off for him. And again, Chalmers said it, through hard work, but also having the balls to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely bang on. We started it with golf talk. We ended up going in depth with an Edmonton product and an actor. And yeah, I think it's tough. You mentioned he's got the big smile, and like he has that charisma where we talk. First of all, that flew by as well. We went 45 minutes, I think, with him. And I blinked and it was like, oh shit, we're actually getting like pretty late into this episode already. But he's got that charisma, man. You talk to him for 45 minutes and you want to root for the guy.
Yeah.
100%. I'm legitimately going to watch this guy's career with like a little bit more of an invested interest now, just knowing his story, and wanting to see where it will go.
And I always love when we've had a chance to interview some cool people on this podcast, but like I love when a guy is just a really nice dude as well.
Yeah.
He comes in here on this podcast. We're doing it on FaceTime, and he's rocking a Keep Nuge Forever tee. He didn't have to, but he's doing an ON podcast.
Yeah.
And there he is wearing some Nation gear. I love that.
Yeah.
I love it.
Actually, like, I legitimately believed him when he was like, "I'm excited to be here." I was, that. I find that so cool because, like, that's just a cool reach for us to go out with, and then to, like, pull it off and have everybody engaged. And I don't know, it's fun. It's fun to see.
It's a little piece of home for him too, right? So there's probably there's some extra excitement for it. So.
And not only that, I mean, he pulled clips. Tyler, he pulled topics from ON Radio.
Yeah, I was like,
he's also consuming the podcast.
Yeah.
I think that if the LA didn't make it, I've been so uninvested in everything that's going on. I didn't look at what the teams were, but LA is out of it, right?
Yeah,
like they're not in.
They're in the basement.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I just would say, damn it, if Oilers ever like went to California and play, he could be our once a week check-in.
Yeah.
You know, tell us what the vibe is down there, how everything's feeling. Break it down.
We'll definitely have to have him on again because it was fun. We could talk some hockey with him as well, which was that was really good. Okay, we're at an hour already, guys, so I think it's time to wrap it up. Unless anyone's got anything else to add on to the end here. We good? We good?
Tyler, eat more donaires.
I probably should get on that quickly before I let everyone go. We need to mention once again that this week's podcast, as always, was brought to you by the fine folks at Japa Machinery. Japa, they just added some 51-inch combo rollers. I butchered that. And 48-inch double drum rollers. Perfect for those smaller asphalt jobs. You can try them out on rental of a demo. Find out more, japamachinery.com, or my favorite thing, give them a call, 780-962-5272. Shout out to Japa. Shout out to you guys as always. Shout out to everyone listening as well. And the big shout out to Jordan Buhat for giving us some time today on the podcast. Great interview. Share it. Tell your friends about it. Episode 188 of the Real Life Podcast is over.
Great job on making it through the entire hour of the Real Life Podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast from.